All right. So, hi everybody. Yeah, just come on stage. I think we're meant to sit right under the images, right?
We managed.
Awesome. Cool.
They mix us.
Nice to be here, and nice talking about the topic and having a great panel covering kind of different angles. So I'm quite curious to hear from you how you're thinking about the second living room. Brief introduction of who's with us today. So it's Amanda Phillips from WPP, formerly working in the automotive industry. Then we have Robert from Super RTL Togo, content provider, broadcaster based out of Germany, and Pierre, Chief Product Officer and Chief Marketing Officer of 3SS, software provider, still more or less within the traditional set-top box world, but now also heading into automotive, and myself basically covering entertainment, but have a past in automotive. So great to see those things coming together now. Great, so let's get started. We heard from Matt there are great opportunities ahead, which I would fully agree. For me, it feels a bit like a gold digger situation. So everyone's exploring actually where the industry is going, and it's not 100% clear. And clearly there will be upsides, but the question is, I think, how we're going to get there. The end scenario, I think, is also understandable, but it's interesting, and maybe that's kind of also now for the panel actually to discuss kind of immediate steps. What are the paths? How are we going to get there? How we grab actually those opportunities? And maybe we're going to start, and I like to start with the user because we heard a bit of technology, but I think it's an important foundation to get the thing started and not burying money and then nothing happens. And therefore starting actually with use cases. We heard a bit from Matt actually what the use cases, but maybe Amanda, you can share your thoughts on what are going to be the use cases within the car using entertainment beyond radio, because this is kind of a standard already. Audio, that's nothing new, but how does video come into the play?
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic, and I was really pleased at WPP's, many of you will know, is a creative transformation company, but I run the Ford client business across Europe. So actually, I don't know Matt personally, but obviously know quite a lot of what Ford have in mind, and they're brilliant company and a brand, and very, very much at the forefront of wanting to progress this, as you heard from Matt. For me, what's interesting, because this is called car as a second living room, second sitting room, but actually, and I think the way that I've looked at this, both working with Ford, but also in my previous life, I was in-house at Jaguar Land Rover as well. This is actually an extension of people's life and lifestyle, and I think the car is already and will become more so an extension of people's lifestyle. So, whereas second living room suggests entertainment and suggests watching movies and suggests maybe even the kind of surround sound of fantastic music opportunities and that in the realm of gaming and what that can mean. But also we could look at the car as a second office, and in terms of what might we offer in terms of productivity and how that might work, and also maybe as a second bedroom eventually, or a second relaxation room, or a second gym. So actually I think it has a number of options open to us, both now and what we can do with where we are with autonomous, and in future, as Matt was saying, as we spend less time sort of at the wheel and concentrating in the same sense as we do now, I think it opens up the possibilities for what, as consumers, as all of us, as drivers, as people that will be in our vehicles, actually how that becomes a second room, a second space, and how interesting that would be for both content providers, but also for other brands and collaboration with other brands and partnerships. I'm excited for that future, actually. I can't wait to get there.
That's great. Maybe Robert, since you're heading kind of a product and running a product for kids, so how would you envision it, getting that now into the car? So how would you envision kind of use cases in the car?
Yeah, I think I most likely need to introduce Togo for a second. So 75% of kids in Germany use Togo. So we're the biggest or leading kids entertainment provider in Germany. This is important to know. The issue is kids' audience is not everybody. Well, it used to be everyone once in a life in Germany, but we have a smaller audience, obviously. But regarding use cases, I'd say ask any parent in this room, and there are no upcoming use cases only. There is a use case already. How to keep your kids satisfied on the journey. And that's why in-car entertainment for us is really, really interesting, because it serves a need of parents and kids, and that's just where we come in. And you already mentioned entertainment is not just video. I mean, we are focusing on video. In my past roles, I focused on video, but almost 50% of our media starts are game starts. So, and why should it not happen in the car, whilst it's also happening in the living room, etc.? So we are also really excited. Obviously, it needs to gain some reach, and this is something what we're going to talk about. Use cases are easy to discover, I think. They're already there. Enabling the products is the main concern for us. We want to be on all the platforms and serving the kids' and parents' needs, and this is very difficult for us, and that's why we are interested in standardization, Matt mentioned, etc., but also working with someone who can help us there, and I think Pierre can introduce himself on that.
Maybe you can introduce, but also with a question associated, because we also heard we have already 100% coverage of entertainment in the car, to be fair, with the smartphones. So this is, and the question is now, having these big screens within the car, is it kind of a replacement? Why would you use it? What does need to happen actually that you're shifting away from kind of a smartphone, even tablet, to kind of this integrated situation? And maybe Pierre, you can comment on that one. What's kind of the benefit of having this integrated solution within the car?
Yeah, maybe before the benefit, maybe it's also good to understand a little bit the trends around automotive that actually enable this now, this integrated entertainment experiences. I think the industry talks about the case trends, so it's connectivity. 5G needed to be there to have enough connectivity to drive entertainment into the car. You have autonomous driving, so there is a clear trend that you will have more time over the next years that you can spend in the car, not only the kids in the back, but also as a driver, or not sure how it's called then, you're just a passenger. But there's also the trend of shared cars, so we do a lot of car sharing. And that is also about then when you come to any car, how can you make this your personalized experience again? And it's great if there are already, let's say, the connected screens and the services in the car, and you just quickly maybe take your phone and then suddenly the car adapts to you. That's probably then the use cases that will be explored. And then you have the E for electric. So I think all the electric cars are easier to build and much more software driven. Tesla led the way, and there are many new car brands also coming to the market, and they have to come with a clear differentiation. And I think they are looking also for entertainment as one of the differentiator, because simply they have not been in the market for so long. And I just saw on CES even Sony now building cars. So I think it's going to be super crazy in the next 5 years, this space, but everybody's trying to differentiate and wants to create that living room. So the use case I saw, at least around CES, is that there is a clear need for the rear seat entertainment. We saw BMW launching a theater screen coming from the top on the 7 Series. And it's like powered by Dolby Atmos, so it's like a small cinema in the car, in the back seat. Yeah? But we also see that you have use cases like gaming now, where actually maybe you're sitting together for many hours, and not everybody wants to watch in his phone and do his own thing. So you use both screens to do something together, play something together, could be also watch something together. So this shared experiences in the car will be one use case, and then it doesn't matter so much if you watch a movie, play a game, or listen to something, but you do more together because it's like sitting together in the living room. not one person is actually always distracted and cannot participate in this. I think this is going to be opening so much use cases and place for innovation, and I think we are at the start. So I think watch the news. It's going to be exciting next month.
Great. I mean, if the product is there somehow, the technology is there, then it also needs to be filled with content. And that's at least what we're seeing is a bit of a challenge for automotive companies. They're somehow building global products, but content and entertainment is typically fairly local. Clearly, there's some global brands like Netflix, like Disney, which have apps available. But it's still always a mix. It's a hybrid model out of local content. Then, how do you see it from a proposition perspective, and how to deal with that? Because this is getting fairly fragmented. Just imagine, like Ford needs to then do content deals in each territory, localize it. Will they do it? Will there be a benefit for them to do so, or will they remain on this global level and then maybe someone else will sort it out?
You know, I think, and I can say, having worked with Ford, that they're immensely customer orientated. The customer experience is everything. So I think where there is that benefit to actually have more customized or local content, I think they would definitely look to explore that. For me, though, actually, if we think about content, I mean, this is like a revolution of dead time, right? So actually, when you think about that, and at the moment we have that, for those of you that have electric vehicles, I don't know how many of you in the audience have electric vehicles or watching, but we have that with charging. And of course, companies like Tesla with their, with the kind of Netflix opportunity, you can kind of watch programming. However, I do think actually the opportunity exists to, as well as thinking about local content, we were talking about this, weren't we, in terms of local to country or local to markets, but actually there's also time-based content, which I think could be an opportunity. So where you think, I maybe have either 10 minutes or 20 minutes available, it would be great if we could actually select content based on that has been curated and created to actually take advantage of the time that we have available, as opposed to us perhaps starting one of our, the next in a season of one of our favourite shows, but only getting partway through because the charging has finished, or in time, maybe the journey has finished. So I do think there's an opportunity to really look at content, both the partnerships that will be done and also the curation and creation of content, whether it's done by the OEM or whether it's done in partnership with media content providers, to actually do it from the point of view of to use your expression, the use cases. So if it's actually a commute that's a certain period of time, is how can we actually make sure that that's a satisfying content experience for the, and I don't know what to call this either, Pierre, driver or passenger, because we will be both, and I think that's a real opportunity, and it's an opportunity for advertisers as well to think about actually how do they integrate within that experience where it becomes something that is palatable and again satisfying, as opposed to something that's disruptive and interruptive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would like to add just what you said about the time in the car. What's really interesting, maybe also for you, Robert, and everybody who's then building apps for these platforms, is that the car has unique data, like how fast you drive, what's the time until you arrive through the navigation system, and this time can be used actually to personalize or to adapt the experience. So when you type in, I drive down to Italy 5 hours, then it's probably a different recommendation than if I just drive 10 minutes to the office. So I think this is something that is unique. It's input coming from the car platform, and I think there's a lot of use cases that will be very specific, but should be enhancing the user experience for the kids, but also for the passengers then who have more time.
I mean, the question is also what we're hearing is there like two areas from which that could be looked at. The one thing is kind of delivering what we're reading, even as kind of the name of the panel, and the other thing is kind of the airplane, which is kind of a unique setup. Also, kind of same thing with the timing that's pretty clear. You can't escape, so you're stuck there. There were specific content deals available within, so you kind of cinema-like things, which is also shifting a bit. People bring your own device, etc. What you're seeing, it's not as unique anymore. And the question is, where's going to be? Where's the car? Is the car would you expect it's the same thing as you would have on your smart TV? Is it needed to be replicated purely from the content access? Is it acceptable that there is less what you have at home? Somehow that's in the airplane, it's okay. It feels like people are not really complaining about it. But is that the same thing if you're in the car all day, that you expect that there's going to be the same thing as at home as on your smartphone? Maybe.
I'd say you need to serve user needs, and user needs come with user situations, and you create a customer journey. You already mentioned it, and obviously as a content provider, that's where we come in. We serve, especially in our product. We have a radio station, we have games, we have short form, long form, audiobooks and everything, which supposedly serves the user needs at the specific time of the day. And a car is just another scenario for us, and obviously you need to curate the content for this scenario. And gaining access to, for example, car data, are you actually charging your vehicle at the moment, such would be interesting data to have a better curation on the content. I'm more concerned on the technical fragmentation and than on the commercial fragmentation here. I'd like to see that we as an industry prevent what kind of happened on the smart TVs, that everybody starts running and we have a fragmented world out there, and then in the end everybody makes global deals with the global players because it's easy and they have the technical capacity to serve all these fragmented platforms. In the end, I mentioned 75% of the kids in Germany use Togo. If you have a platform in Germany which has Togo on the platform, you have the better platform, because it serves the user needs. So I really ask the manufacturers and the ones who build the hardware to create an environment which makes it not just easy for Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon to put their products in, but also the local providers. And it's not just the content, it's the user experience, especially here again with kids. We have a very specific kids user experience, and it's more than just the content. And it's just important to serve the user needs at their time of the day and create an environment which supports this.
So then will we ultimately end up then with Android as the core standard and everyone is building up on that one? So will that be the solution, or is it too risky and you need still to have a couple of platforms just to de-risk a bit and not being reliable only on one? Because like Google with the bootcamp, I think yesterday night was talking about going into video. So this is kind of, for the time being, I think clear enablers and easing things, because kind of reducing development costs. It's not anymore Linux and case by case per provider and you're building something for 1,000 cars. I mean, this won't work. I mean, this is too much effort. So clearly some kind of standardization needs to happen, and I mean, clearly Android is some kind of a de facto standard. So is it going to be the only one, or are there going to be others as well?
I think that's time will tell, but I think the automotive guys have also looked at other use cases in industries, and I think the operator business is quite some learning curve there. So everybody started with their own customized platforms and devices, and it was working as long as we had Zapper boxes. But when you started to try to get content on these boxes, everybody had to onboard these apps, and it became very hard for not only the smaller apps, but also Netflix even, to get to them. So I think many of them started to use Android now, open source, many of them, to really have no, I would say, loss of control or anything. And some of them are moving already to Android Automotive OS as a platform to scale faster. But I think it looks like that Android will be a big part. There are definitely browser-based solutions out there, because if there is a website already and the browser is very good implemented in the car, you can actually also use the website to already play or use the video app without even somebody submitting an app for a store or something like this. So I think browser-based plus Android. but Android looks already like it's probably the platform that will be most scalable for now. But then it's still the question if you have the Google services or not. I think this is still about flexibility and control, and these guys have to deal with it.
I was going to add to that actually. You know what's so fascinating about having this discussion is sort of having been also in-house at an OEM as well, is, you know, what they're recognising, all OEMs are recognising, is the days when the centre of gravity of working within an OEM was actually about design and engineering and manufacturing. Actually now, I mean, if we look at them and we think about what they're doing, they're technology brands, they're not just car brands, you know, and I think that's so interesting for them. And Matt was saying about the kind of collaboration that he's doing with other OEMs, but also the collaboration with technology partners, I think is going to be so critical, because I suspect if you had a panel of OEMs sitting here, they'd say actually the quest for in-house talent that works in this space in technology, actually everybody is at a premium, and that, you know, these are rare beasts to find, rare skills and capabilities to find. So what you have to do is lean on technology partners to be able to bring this, as you say, to get a standardization, but then also the OEMs are looking to get a point of differentiation. And what can be that point of differentiation? When, as consumers or drivers or passengers, what we want is seamless connectivity. We want it to be an extension of our living room, which means I don't want to feel the difference when I get into my car in any shape or form. And I do think that's where the really successful OEMs, you know, Ford included, are thinking as a technology company as well as you know, an automotive manufacturer. And I think that's very interesting for them as an evolution, and also for us working with that industry as well.
Absolutely, and also when looking at kind of how you sell cars today, it's not anymore about the horsepower. So it's there are other metrics important, and to a certain extent it's user experience, but it's always hard to grasp actually what it is. And it's also clearly kind of a frenemy play between kind of the tech companies and the OEMs. So no one wants to fully lose control, and maybe this is also to the bridge at the very end. So what's going to be then in the future also the commercial models within the car, because this is certainly also defining. As of now, for content providers, I mean, if you go in for 20,000 cars, I mean, that's not moving the needle. I mean, in your ambition actually to grow in subscribers, that's not changing anything yet. So maybe there's going to be a cross-financing of one side of the platform in order to get started, but also thinking ahead. So what are your thoughts on, is it just a kind of a dumb screen within the car and the OEM just needs to do it? Or are there any opportunities in participating from the entertainment industry, be it subscriptions, be it advertising, be it kickbacks when someone's subscribing? So what are your thoughts? Maybe starting with Robert having a product.
As a start, it's just another device in another room. But every device comes with a certain specialty. A smart TV device is different than a mobile device, and we see it in what media types are being used on our service. So obviously there's something new. It is, and commercial-wise, it's a new cake, and everybody wants a piece of the cake. And I just prefer that everybody sticks to their part of the cake. And the problem is that many companies don't look from a user perspective. Mm-hmm. They see, oh, there's new business, we should go for that new business. And then the product does not serve user needs. And then in the end, it's not going to be successful. And I really fear that customers out there within the next 10 years will face some issues. That there is a fragmented world out there with a lot of products which are not really the best ones. And this will take another 10 years until it's consolidated and people and companies go back to their original business and say, yeah, that's where we're strong, that's what we should focus on. But we collaborate with others where they have their strength. And so this we should really do from the beginning. Obviously, everybody should have something on the cake, either if it's, if you help in acquisition of subscribers, obviously there's a fair share, but especially things like new app stores with new technical infrastructure. In the end, just talking for Togo again, there will be no Togo on that platform. And in the end, it's not the best platform. And then the others who do that will win the race. So why not do something for the customers from the beginning and skip that part?
Yeah, you?
Yeah, I think it's very hard to predict how these discussions will work out at the end and what will be the end user experience, but I feel that there is a lot to learn from both sides. I think talking with we are based in Stuttgart, yeah? So let's say this, Porsche, Bosch, all my friends work there. I only work for TV entertainment. Yeah? So it's part of my life when I grew up. And I think they have a different language, they have a different understanding, they have a different business. And I think it will take some time until those guys will connect with us here and understand this business. And if we are able to really talk on a very transparent and open level what creates actually value for the end customer, then I'm sure Togo gets the place in the rear seats, but not as just a tile with the same user experience as any other app. It must be the Togo experience. And I think then we create really a win-win situation, not only for the kids, but also for everyone else. So I think both sides have to move. My feeling is the car manufacturers are heavily under pressure to differentiate. So they are right now building these screens inside the vehicles, and they're not empty, but I would say there's not much yet on it. So I think they have the higher pressure to invite to the table and discuss about the business to get content into the cars. And later, when we have a mass market with enough screen time and displays on the roads, I think this will change because the platforms will then be big enough to negotiate about who is again on tile 1, 2, 3 versus surfaced on the home screen and so on. But I think right now it's on the car makers to open a little bit for the entertainment space and explore ways to make it valuable for the passengers and the kids.
I mean, it's actually, I was looking at this, looking at the statistics that are there in their kind of industry, and one of the ones I picked on was 1.5 billion cars on the road globally, 100 million new cars hit the road every year. So the available commercial opportunity is there. Yep. And I was looking at the kind of monetization of sort of car data in general. McKinsey stat was it's could add up to sort of $450 to $750 billion by 2030. So there's a lot that could be made here. Now, one has to be careful and always think, and to both of your points, is this is about the user experience. This is about making it both seamless, integrative, and easy and value add for the driver or the owner in this instance. But I think what I sense with the OEMs of everything that I've seen is they're really shifting their understanding of their commercial model away from just metal to metal plus subscription or membership services, and thinking about it as a total experience, a total value add proposition to customers. And I think that is a really interesting shift, and I think they will lean on partners and work in collaboration with partners to truly realise what that could mean for us, so that we can look as the car as our second living room, because it feels like an extension of our life as opposed to our car or vehicle as we somehow see as separate at the moment. I think it will become much more rounded, and therefore the commercial value will be realised, but it's realised as the user value is also realised. And I think that's where the exchange, the value exchange needs to happen. Do one without the other and we'll get frustration, and then I think it can be a commercialisation that is in the wrong proportions. But I think, from what I can see, OEMs are staying on the right side of making sure that their owners, their drivers, their members, their subscribers will get a symbiotic relationship with them that is value add as well.
Just looking at the time, quick last question, and just thinking about, as of today, configuring a car, it's will there be a tick box saying, okay, this is my Netflix and Disney subscription in the future, or do you think this is kind of handled separately, and the OEMs won't play a significant role in that one. You just bring it and use it, and they just create this experience.
Should I start?
Sure.
I thought ladies first, but
No, we end with a lady.
okay, I start. So I think it will be a mix. So I think we want to see car makers to by default build in these screens, so you don't have to actively opt them in, because there are actually extra monetization opportunities for the car makers to become a service company. So if you don't opt it in and then they have later no reach to you, it makes no sense. So basically we see more of these entertainment screens already be default configured. And then I'm 100% agree. I think there will be 5G connectivity as one package, and probably bundled with 1 or 2 local content providers directly. And maybe it's starting with the kids' entertainment, because that's a real user problem for parents for a long drive. Yeah? So that is a nice package that you could probably already opt in the car configuration process. But I think we will see that you have a lot of opportunity later when you actually have bought the car and you step in the first time to actually buy and have services maybe just on demand. So maybe I don't have Togo the whole month. I just have it for this 5-hour trip to Italy, and I pay just €5 for that. So I think this is going to be interesting, because the use case is different. You're just a certain amount of time spending in that second living room because you have a first living room. Mm-hmm. And this will drive a little bit the business model as well.
Yeah, I see. I differentiate between a commercial product and a technical product. So the technical product is more like heavily on the UX of the product, and if the car is the second living room or just another room, I don't use services just in the car. It's the same services as I use in my living room. So why would I want to create new products? But I can commercially bundle the products, and everybody gets a fair share. And then it works for the customer. So what just like, and then as you mentioned, like an aggregation above the singular apps, where you can then maybe go on the specific user scenario, which is in the car, and you make recommendations and such. But in the end, yes, hopefully it is the tick box. And not much more, not new products. So as a customer, I need the Netflix subscription and the Mercedes-Benz S-Word subscription. Why would I want this? Because that would just be because Mercedes-Benz bought content from somewhere and aggregated it new. No, I want my content products.
So quick last comment on Amanda, because they're already it's getting bigger. It's already flashing.
I think it will be a mix, and I think maybe where the OEMs might play will be ones where it's just a natural extension for the role that they have. So if I think about Ford Pro is actually the productivity solutions that they provide to business customers. That's very much in the realm of what they do. I think then they'll also hopefully integrate with apps and platforms that we also as consumers want to see, that real seamless integration between our home life and our vehicle, and I think it will be a mix of the two. But I think the points of differentiation are going to come in, and it's, if we're all the same, how do we choose and how do we make those choices as consumers in terms of car brands? That's where I think there's going to be an interesting development as we do things together and we do things alone. So watch the space.
Cool. So let's see how this opportunity will be filled from the various angles. So quite excited, quite curious, and thanks a lot for joining me and sharing your thoughts on the in-car entertainment space. Thank you.
Thank you.